my friend, where to begin with Mixolydian? Generally, these are thrown through the key of C, because in the key of C there are no sharps and flats. When we take away a C and go up to a D and then add another note after that C up here, a D, you get a D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, then G Mixolydian. The reason why we teach from C, no sharps and no flats, means it's much easier to explain a chord that doesn't have to utilize black keys rather than having to use just all white keys. So, G major has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. The telltale sign of any Mixolydian is that it flattens the major seventh to a minor seventh. To know what that means, you must have a little idea what the foundation of music theory is. All chords are made up of dyads. There are two dyads which make up a triad. In the key of G, you have a B to a G, which is a major third, and then you have a B to a D, which is a minor third. So when we put those together, that is the chord construction for a major triad. When you flip those and play a minor third then a major third, you get a minor chord. Minor third plus a minor third gets a diminished, and major third plus a major third gets an augmented. Those are the four types of being for chords or triads. You either have a major, minor, diminished, or augmented. There are extension notes where you add another note, like a major 7, and today's conversation will be flattening that F sharp, which is in the key of G, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and G. When we alter that note and bring it down to an F, we have altered the tone of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to have a minor 7th, meaning minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, augmented fourth, perfect fifth, augmented fifth. This is going to be our 6th, minor 6th or augmented 6th, major 7th, perfect 8th. The way I see it is chords that are triads generally have an extension of a 6, 7, or a 9. 6 and 7 being the most common, 7 being the most common. When you play any triad with the minor 7th, this chord functions as something called a secondary dominant. In the key of C major, onto which we are generally explaining modus, we have C Ionian. Well, if we move this up a grouping of 7, we get our notes of G Mixolydian. G Mixolydian is great because the chords that are in it are a G major, and then when we scoot this triad on over, we find ourselves moving over and having our B diminish. So the chord construction of 4 notes, G, B, D, and F, give us a G major and a B diminished, which sounds like it wants to go back to the key of C. Why? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, diminished C. Well, if you play all of your chords as 7 chords, you get a C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, you have an F major 7, you've got your G dominant 7, A minor 7, you've got your B minor 7 flat 5, and then our C major 7 again. Just by adding the extended note, you find a whole world of awesomeness to create melodies and progressions with. Cool, huh? So, Mixolydian, how do we utilize that? Maybe if we were doing like a C major to an F major. When we get to the end of a passage or a progression, it would make sense to play that G major and then include the F note, because it would, as we just said, feels like it's going to go back to our C major. So a real cool thing we could do as far as using the Mixolydian is do like a little Mixolydian run with an arpeggio. An arpeggio is just a 3-note system built of our triad that allows us to incorporate another note. And I bet you those who have been studying a little bit of theory know where I'm about to go here. When we play a G, B, D, and a G, we are playing those 3 notes. We just have a high octave. Well, what happens when we play an F, then a G, and a B, and a D, and then an F and a G? We get these really cool, like, notes that go into our arpeggiated structure. Now, you don't always have to play arpeggios going from one point to another. You could add different notes in there, or melody stretches over the top, or you can just play them out of order. You would have something like, you can combine them for diatone clusters, the whole major second clusters, or at this point you can move that little passing accent note. If doing that same C major, and we utilize the concept of having a C major, and then it changes and it does its Mixolydian, you can have C7, any 7 chord is a Mixolydian mode, and then utilize that. Utilizing that dominant 7 or the minor 7th over the top of chords is lots of fun. Let's say we were playing that C major to that F major to that G, but I didn't want to stay in the key of C. We could go to maybe D minor, because it's F major's relative minor, and then G major's relative minor is E minor, and then a quick G. Well, if I wanted to play the G7 and then maybe play an A dominant 7, then I could go to the key of D and start that same thing over. Utilizing the C now in the key of D major, because we have 2 sharps whenever we flatten the major 7th, and we bring it down to the C natural, we would have D7, thusly beginning the circle of being able to use the modus of Mixolydian. Again, the most important part of a mode is to know what the telltale sign of that mode is. If it was Lydian, it would have been a sharp 4. Mixolydian just happens to have a flat 7, making the major 7 not really useful, and then making the minor 7 extremely useful, because it shifts the air from hearing something that is not resolvable, like a B minor. It just feels like a common chord. B minor is a D major, but when we have a B diminished, it wants to go back to C. Well, if we add that common chord with G, we get a dominant, and it allows us to move anywhere. In fact, if you've never heard of a secondary dominant, I would say Google that. Have fun with it. There's lots of resources on this channel as well. If you dig this channel and you want to subscribe, put a thumbs up, put something cool in the comment section, and keep it classy if you could. And we'll see you for our next adventure. Aloha.